Maybe it's time to let the old ways die.
So Jackson Maine has hearing loss from noise exposure, and as a result of that has tinnitus or ringing in the ears, and that's quite bothersome to him. And I think what you see throughout the movie is you see him struggling to communicate. Of course, someone who's in the hearing world or has a family member with hearing loss may appreciate that. Probably a lot of other people may have missed that. But during the movie, he actually has difficulty communicating with other people, and that's all from noise exposure. So it's noise exposure that causes hearing loss. Tinnitus affects over 30 million people in the United States, so it's actually quite common. Most people, they're aware of it. It's not too bothersome. They live with it. But there are cases where it can get quite severe. And in fact, we've actually unfortunately had patients that become so severe they are admitted to a psychiatric ward, and rarely some people will commit suicide as a result of it. So it can get quite bad. To fight tinnitus, it's really prevention. So if we can prevent the hearing loss, we'll prevent the noise exposure, we prevent the tinnitus from developing, because the tinnitus is actually the brain's response to the hearing loss. So once you have the hearing loss, the brain actually makes up sound to fill in the gap, and that's the tinnitus that happens. But it's inside your head. It's a very real sound to the person who has it. It's not something we can necessarily measure, but it is inside, and it can be quite bothersome for people. Musicians tend to be much more sensitive to any type of change within their hearing. Unfortunately, musicians are also in a very difficult position because many of them are around loud noise, especially those that are performing in large venues. But even musicians that are performing in small venues, the noise level inside the small venues can actually get quite high. So anything over 85 decibels is something that could potentially cause damage to the hearing. There's many potential risk factors for musicians. You have not just the music that's going on, but you can have sound checks. I've had musicians who have come in, they've had a sound check go bad where all of a sudden, they just get this loud noise, just blurts out, and they can have tinnitus or some hearing loss as a result of that. And then, of course, just being around the music or being around loud noise, even for a short period of time, can sometimes be enough to cause damage. So ear monitors are devices. They look somewhat similar to hearing aids. They're basically a mold fits into the ear canal, and there's a little device behind them. So they are similar to the old-fashioned hearing aids. They serve two purposes. One is they actually help protect the ear from loud sound, ambient sounds that are coming in, because basically all the music that you're going to hear is actually piped in through the in-ear monitors. The significance of that is when you're on a large stage, the sound can actually be different depending on what part of the stage you're at. So you may, for instance, if you're closer to the drums, or if you're in a band and you're closer to one musical instrument, you'll hear that louder than, say, other musical instruments. And so by piping in specifically what's being put out through the speakers, you can control and have better. The advantage is you have better control over the sound quality that's coming in or you're listening to when you're on stage. So as you move around the stage, it all is very consistent. And the advantage, of course, is that it helps protect the ears. Most young musicians don't start out with in-ear monitors because they're quite expensive. They have to integrate in with the sound system. And so they get used to listening to sound just kind of in its natural state. And so some people are resistant to the in-ear monitors because they feel it doesn't give them that same kind of natural sound sensation that they would have if they didn't have something in their ears. So anybody who's moving forward in career in music, I would recommend having in-ear monitors.
Music is essentially 12 notes between any octave. 12 notes and the octave repeats. It's the same story, told over and over. All any artist can offer the world is how they see those 12 notes.